Nikamuuliza ulikuwa unapiga unasema nini? Ananiambia eti alikuwa ananipigia aniambie nimesahau simu. Kumbe bibi ananipenda na mimi.
Ili kupata skiza tune hiyo ya missed call, kama skiza tune yako, bonyeza *811 *961 hash. *811 *961 hash.
Well, it's the second day of May from wherever you're watching us in Kenya and around the world. Welcome to this live broadcast. Remember, tonight at 9:45, we have the semi-final match on PFB Pokal semi-final, pitting SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig. You don't want to miss that match. It's coming up right after this bulletin. But of course, first, we're going to start with a look at a summary of the events that shaped the news tonight. And it begins right now.
As per the cause of death, we found that most of them died because of starvation.
Controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie re-arrested as pathologists report confirm death by starvation. Azimio la Umoja coalition claims deployment of underhand tactics to defeat its protests. Interior CS Kithure Kindiki orders a security operation along the Meru-Isiolo border to curb banditry.
Many thanks indeed for joining us. My name is Mboya. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Susan Thuku. Our socials at KBC Channel 1 and my Twitter handle at Mboya24. Now, the prosecution has been granted 2 days to complete investigations into televangelist Ezekiel Odero. Police had requested the court to give them 30 days, remember, to prepare and level charges against the cleric, but Senior Principal Magistrate Joe Omido declined to grant the prayers and instead scheduled Ezekiel's appearance in court for Thursday, the 5th. Let's start this live broadcast with a look at that report.
And then they ran away from it.
Ezekiel Odero listened keenly as the magistrate read out a ruling on his bail application. He had been facing some 30 days behind bars. Senior Principal Magistrate Joe Omido asked the prosecution to hasten investigations, noting that the 30 days requested was too long and there was the need to shorten the period.
That the respondent shall be detained at Port Police Station, Mombasa, for a period of 7 days, which period shall run from the 27th of April 2023, being the date that he was arrested and placed in police custody, and therefore avoidance of doubt, the detention period ordered herein shall lapse on the 4th of May 2023 at 0900 hours. I hope that is clear. B, that this matter shall be mentioned on the 4th of May at 9 in the morning for the state to appraise the court on the status of the investigation and for further orders. C, parties to be at liberty to apply for any
Meanwhile, the Good News International Church pastor Mackenzie was also arraigned at the Shanzu Law Courts after he and 17 others were re-arrested in Malindi. However, Senior Principal Magistrate Joe Omido noted that he will not be able to handle the case since he has a similar case in his hands and deferred it to the Senior Principal Magistrate Yusuf Shikanda.
Further considering that I'm currently handling another file in miscellaneous application number 2075 of 2023, the one for the pastor, which relates somewhat to the instant matter. I will order and direct that the instant application proceeds before my brother, Honorable Yusuf Shikanda, but not today and not tomorrow, because I know he has a very long list.
Prosecution has filed an application to hold Mackenzie and the 17 for 90 days pending investigations. The application ruling will be made on Friday, 5th May. For Prime Edition from Mombasa County, I am Ann Mburu.
Pathologists doing the autopsy for the 110 bodies retrieved from Shakahola forests are tonight confirming that the victims died of starvation. Government Chief Pathologist Johansen Oduor says that some of the victims, and is confirming this, were struggled, while others, believe it or not, had their noses and their mouths blocked. Why? To deny them oxygen until death.
And as per the cause of death, we found that most of them died because of starvation, being that 20 of these autopsies we did had features of people who died because of starvation. There were 6 which we were unable to ascertain the cause of death because of the level of decomposition. So it was very difficult for us to say what caused their death because they were very badly decomposed. One of them, which was a child, we found that they had trauma to the head. There was some head trauma, which we saw on that child. And then 3 of them had asphyxia, meaning that they had been denied oxygen. And of these 3, one of them we could clearly see marks on the neck of someone who had been strangled with the breaking of some bones in the neck. So we are very certain that this person, who was a child also, was actually strangulated. Of course, there are relatives who had come for the purpose of DNA being taken for them. So we are able to take DNA from families of 27 families. We are able to take DNA from them, and as they come, we still continue taking DNAs from them so that we can reconcile their DNAs and the DNAs that we are taking from the deceased, which we have already done the postmortem on.
Nimekuja hapa kutafuta my niece na watoto wake wawili ambao niliongea nao mwisho tarehe 10 mwezi wa 3. Mtoto akaniambia shosh, naomba unitumie kitu kadogo tununue chakula. Nikamwambia nitawatumia kesho. Immediately my niece alichukua simu akampigia bwanake aishi Dandora Nairobi. Akamwambia baba Sami, usitutumie pesa wala kitu chochote kwa sababu mali tunaenda hatutatumia pesa wala hatutatumia simu, na akazima simu. Kutoka hii tarehe 10 mwezi wa 3 hatujaongea tena.
Let's shift gears and move into the space of politics now. And Azimio la Umoja coalition has accused the government of deploying underhand tactics in dealing with the protests called by the opposition Tuesday. Raila Amolo Odinga and his allies allege that goons were hired to blend in with genuine protesters with the sole aim of causing chaos and destruction of property. Azimio says that it will continue with the protests on Thursday until its demands are sufficiently addressed. Here's that report.
Azimio la Umoja coalition defied police orders and continued with their march on Tuesday. A host of opposition leaders had attempted to present one of the petitions at the office of the president but were repulsed by police. Raila Odinga and the coalition hierarchy began their procession on Waiyaki Way, but diverted to the Sarit Center, seemingly to evade the police. But the long march to the central business district hit a snag on Kiambu Road. The leaders then convened a press briefing at the Oginga Odinga Foundation in Upper Hill and accused the state of deploying underhand tactics in tackling peaceful demos.
They are the same goons that had been hired to attack the Northlands farm, also to attack East Africa Spectre, and it is terrible to prey on unemployed and poverty-stricken.
The opposition said it had planned to address its supporters to articulate the issues at hand, but the efforts were unconstitutionally impeded by the police.
Let Kenyans express their opinion and fight for the country they love so much. That was never to be. Instead, at the break of dawn, police got stationed in all parts of Nairobi metropolis and the city center to prevent us from proceeding with our peaceful protests as we had planned.
Azimio had intended to petition a host of government departments, but was forced to suspend those plans until Thursday, when they said they will attempt once again to press the government to yield to their demands.
We were not able to present the critical petitions to the 4 offices as planned. As we said yesterday, we intended to present petitions to the IEBC showing that the results it announced last August were doctored and demand an audit of the servers. We also intended to petition against the sacking of the 4 commissioners. Our protests will resume on Thursday, the 4th of May. Same meeting, same offices, same petition, same people.
Meanwhile, Kenya Kwanza has accused Azimio leader Raila Odinga of interfering with the bipartisan talks process. Addressing the press in Nairobi, Kenya, the Kenya Kwanza bipartisan talks team led by Tharaka Nithi Member of Parliament George Murugara urged Raila to shelve the protests and give the process a chance. The Azimio la Umoja counterparts distanced the talks from the protests and shot down a proposal by Kenya Kwanza to rescue eldest Member of Parliament Aidan Kinan from sensitive aspects of the talks, and they're maintaining that he has to be withdrawn.
That we are committed to resuming talks immediately. They comply with one simple logical demand that we had placed, and that is the withdrawal of the Honorable Aidan Kinan from the talks. The question of demonstration is a different question. It's not on the table for us. That is a matter that is to be discussed at the level of the principle and the constitution and other things. And therefore, to give us a condition that we have to call off any demonstration, which is a constitutional right, as a condition of resuming any discussion, again is a show of bad faith.
There cannot be dialogue simultaneous with street protests. The two cannot go together hand by hand. Either we talk or they demonstrate.
As far as Raila Odinga is concerned, I appreciate the pressure under which he's working. His concerns, as far as he's concerned, are valid. However, I would like to appeal to him for the sake of posterity, for the sake of stability of this country, he should allow his committee to talk with us.
Well, the Council of Elders have formed a committee to address the ongoing demonstrations with a view of seeking amicable solutions. All that coming up when we come back from this short break. Stay with us.
Our main aim was to build NARC as a strong party that can deliver on our promises to the Kenyan people. Our main aim was not to perpetuate ourselves into small parties, exploiting our ethnic divides to maintain power. I'm speaking very frankly today because I want us to be frank with each other, not to be clever with each other by playing some cards above the table while hiding dangerous ones below the table.
What am I forgetting? Nini? Workers paid. Rent checked. Mlango locked. Visiting out of gas. Was internet sorted. What is it? What am I forgetting?
Nini? Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto.
Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Unaweza shinda hadi milioni 2 kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number weka 7577. Account number weka neno Loto. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000. Lipa kisha subiri draw. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLP.
My foster parents treated me well and were so nice. So I grew up in a complete family and was happy. That's why I'm such a happy person and I'm always joking around. I wish you
asked me for a while. He asked me over and over again and kept begging to keep the secret from me for a while. Please don't be upset.
I feel happy, but also lost. I don't know what that means. I just all of a sudden feel like I'm lost.
I thought it's your dream to be an editor.
Welcome back. Remember, at 9:45 tonight, DFB Pokal semi-final pitting SC Friesberg and RB Leipzig. You don't want to miss that. It's coming up shortly. But first, let's look at the county stories. The Council of Governors has formed a 10-member committee to engage the leaders from the political divide to address that ongoing demonstration that we reported earlier on, why they're trying to seek amicable solutions to ensure that there's stability across the country. The committee's executive will include the council's chair, Governor Anne Waiguru, and Governors Hamid Abdullahi, as well as Stephen Sang. The council says that it will take a non-partisan approach in engaging the leaders, noting that these continuous demonstrations is kind of having a negative impact on the smooth running of counties.
The announcement of the return of demonstrations by the Azimio team led by former Prime Minister Raila Odinga raised concerns, the latest coming from the Council of Governors, which has now come up with a 10-member committee to seek an amicable solution to the political standoff.
We call upon all political leaders to be amenable to discussion that will yield stability and growth of this great nation.
The 10-member team will include an executive consisting of Governor Anne Waiguru, Governors Ahmed Abdullahi and Stephen Sang. The other members are Excellencies Kenneth Lusaka, Fatuma Achani, Mutahi Kahiga, Simba Arati, Joseph Lenku, Wavinya Ndeti and Ochilo Ayako.
We believe that when people talk, solutions are found.
On the delayed disbursements of the equitable funds, the National Treasury has so far disbursed the February 2023 allocations amounting to 31.45 billion shillings. 29.6 billion shillings is still pending for March 2023 allocations.
The March allocation will be disbursed by 15th of May 2023, and the April allocation will be disbursed by end of May.
Meanwhile, this year's devolution conference will be held in Uasin Gishu County from the 15th to 19th of August under the theme 10 Years of Devolution, the Present and the Future, with the sub-theme as driving transformation from the local level. County governments as the centre of economic development.
Now, do you remember the squatters who were previously forced out of the Mau Forest? Well, the government has set aside funds for them. Speaking at Sagu in Narok South, when he launched the construction of feeder roads funded by the county government, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua said that the government is keen on finding better places for the displaced locals to live. He further asked the affected citizens to form a 10-member committee that will work with government on that resettlement process.
Ambaye tumepeleka bunge juzi, tumeweka pesa ya kuangalia vile mutapata makao. ningetaka tutengeneze kamati ya wazee 10 wale wanaaminika, ambaye ni wazee ya hekima. Hao wazee na huyu MCA wenu na MP na governor na DCC wakuje ofisi yangu niyo niwaambie mipango vile iko, wakuje waambie nyinyi.
There's an item here on security. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has ordered a security operation along the Meru-Isiolo border following a series of bandit attacks. During a visit to that area, the CS also ordered the immediate redeployment of an anti-stock theft unit in that region to curb theft of livestock that has risen in recent weeks.
In the latest bandit attack along the Meru-Isiolo border 3 days ago, Ntubwete Kyogo Ward Representative George Kaliunga was shot dead while on a mission to recover stolen animals by suspected Castro rustlers at Kina Nduba area. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki toured the area on Tuesday and addressed a baraza at Ntubwete Kyogo Market, where he said investigations are underway to ascertain whether the MCA was killed by bandits as reported.
Hatuwezi kuwa tuko na vikosi vyetu vya usalama na wananchi wanaumia. That camp must be set up immediately. Na waanze leo.
He declared the entire Meru North region a security operations zone, adding that 200 more police reservists will be posted in the area. He issued a stern warning on tribal clashes and banditry across the country.
Sijui nani ameua mwenzake, sijui jirani ameenda kwa shamba ya mwingine. Hiyo ni kazi ya upuzi. I cannot allow that. Lazima tuweke amani na tujue sisi ni ndugu, sisi ni majirani, na hakuna mtu ataenda popote. Sisi zote tuko hapa, sisi ni jamii moja.
For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
Last season's finalists clash head to head. Comes here to halfway! That's excellent. And Werner's finish. A chance for Leipzig to save their season. It is for Freiburg. It's Willi Orban. Freiburg's second semi-final in a row. Who will get to the final? Freiburg out for revenge against Leipzig.
Welcome back, and straight into the corridors of justice. A Kiambu High Court has jailed a former police officer attached to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to 30 years imprisonment. Edward Munjalu was found guilty of shooting dead a reveller William Mwangi Kimani after a scuffle ensued at Club U-Turn in Limuru 6 years ago. This after the deceased refused to buy him alcohol, a move that triggered Munjalu to shoot Kimani inside of his car. For this and more, stories from our courts roundup.
While delivering a judgment, Lady Justice Mary Kasango said the former detective committed the crime while he was serving as a police officer and expected to protect the victim. Kimani, 32, was shot dead inside his car as he drove away from Club U-Turn in Limuru town before daybreak, where he had been drinking and watching football matches with friends, according to evidence presented in court.
He used the weapon that had been provided by the government not to protect but to kill an innocent man.
Nitarudi kwa wakili juu kuna familia ilikuwa inaangalia William juu ya compensation ndio maisha yetu iendelee.
Elsewhere, a young woman from Nandi County has denied a criminal charge of obtaining Kenya shillings 22,500 by claiming that she was in a position to assist Willis Odhiambo get employment at Teacher Service Commission.
That she will avail herself whenever required.
The accused, Elizabeth Jebet, denied the offense before Senior Principal Magistrate Susan Nazoshi and was remanded pending ruling on bail on 5th May 2023.
Meanwhile, Victor Arara Were has been charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to defraud and fraudulent appropriation by directors. Were, who is co-accused with 2 others, Awaz Swale Said and Swale Awaz Saleh, that were not present in court, conspired to defraud Omar Saleh Said of his 1 share at Kilindini Warehouse, Kenya, between the year 1999 and 2000.
Being directors and company secretary respectively of Kilindini Warehouse Kenya Limited with intent to defraud, falsified a certain document.
He denied the counts before Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina and was remanded waiting a ruling tomorrow, 3rd May. Ruth Mboya for Prime Edition.
Now, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers National Governing Council has expressed grave concern at the sorry state of junior secondary schools in the country as schools prepare next week for their second-term learning. These and more stories in our county news roundup.
Addressing the media in Nairobi, KUPPET Secretary General Akelo Misori urged the government to reconsider its decision and domicile junior secondary students in secondary schools due to the lack of facilities at primary schools.
The government decision to domicile junior secondary in primary school has caused terrible confusion because we have infrastructure in our secondary schools, infrastructure which is definitely, although not sufficient, would address the yawning gaps of curriculum implementation, especially.
Elsewhere in Kiambu, residents of Kabete have decried incidents of insecurity following the killing of a man at Rukubi River. They demanded construction of a bridge at the river to connect Rukubi and Kingero villages.
Watusaidie na mataa na barabara hapa kuna pahali pabaya zaidi. Kuna kichaka, hata ukipitia hapa usiku unasikia uoga, na tukienda manyumbani kwetu kunaonekana tu uoga kabisa.
Still on insecurity, several shops were broken into over the weekend in Maralal Town, Samburu County, as thieves took advantage of a 3-day blackout that was caused by floods in Tingamara.
Ile shida tuko nayo hii town kwanza ni hiyo mambo ya stima. The whole weekend kulikuwa na blackout ambayo ili contribute kwa hii wizi.
Meanwhile, the compliance rate of transit vehicles using the Gilgil Way Bridge has risen from 79% to 98% in the last 2 years. Kenya National Highways Authority attributed the success to stringent enforcement of laws and harsh penalties targeting overloaded trucks and engagement of the motorists.
The percentage trucks that are overloaded, especially transit, is around 2%. Actually, last month we only had 6 overloaded trucks that were on transit. So the compliance is around 98%.
Finally, Tourism, Wildlife and National Heritage Cabinet Secretary Penina Malonza has announced plans by the government to translocate rhinos to selected wildlife conservancies to protect the endangered species.
This is how serious we are. We cannot afford to lose our wildlife through drought and climate change, and again we lose them in the hands of conservancies. No.
Joan Junge for Prime Edition.
Welcome to the day's business. I'm driving this part of the bulletin. Now, Kenya is employing collaboration to address the issues of safety and security, which are the key factors affecting exploitation of maritime resources as well as trade. Here's Regina Manyara with the details.
Africa accounts for just 2% of global trade, and intra-Africa exports are about 13%. This is very low when compared to continents such as Asia, where exports between Asian countries is at an average of 59%, and in Europe at 68%.
We are trying to bring African maritime authorities together because much as they are regulator in the sector, but they also facilitate business in the maritime sector.
And so this meeting will have a lot of conversations on to what extent are we
securing our waters. There'll be a lot of conversations about to what extent are we implementing the International Ship and Port Facility Security Code. Very essential to ensure that the waters are secure for people to be able to do their own businesses.
The maritime sector has been identified as having a huge potential to grow intra-African trade. Over 46 countries are going to be participating in the 6th AMA conference that is taking place in Shanzu, Mombasa County. Among the areas that are going to be taking center stage include safety, security, infrastructure, policy guidelines, as well as how to optimize and harness resources within the maritime sector for socio-economic development for all members who are going to be here. I'm Regina Manyara reporting from Shanzu, Mombasa County for KBC Channel 1.
The Kenya Association of Manufacturers is ramping up efforts to increase participation of women in the manufacturing sector as part of the drive to sustainably industrialize the entire country. Kenya Association of Manufacturers Chairperson Mary Ngeshu says that there is need to break the barriers associated with women scaling up in the sector by developing transformative models and also standards that address workplace gender gaps. Here are the details of these and other stories in our business roundup.
A lack of technical knowledge and expertise have resulted in most women taking up low-cadre, low-skill jobs, which translates to low earnings and poor career advancement. To this end, stakeholders have called for priority to be given to MSMEs as an avenue to grow and strengthen the economic scope for women.
Let us exchange ideas and we highlight significant opportunities to scale our businesses and to help accelerate gender-positive actions in our businesses.
It is possible to build 1 million MSME companies owned by women to produce silk and other fabrics.
Meanwhile, micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises need to explore new markets and expand their value chains to survive the tough economic times. Stanbic Bank Executive Director Pauline Mboya says initiatives such as capacity building and well-thought expansion plans will help businesses easily access affordable finance and attract investors.
If you start a business, you are in it for the long haul, you should not give up. Always look for opportunities to grow, have a plan. Most of them have explained to us how they've got a 5-year business plan now that they've learned, and continuously skill yourself as an SME.
And finally, WPP Scan Group has bounced back to profitability, recording a full-year net profit of 75 million shillings, up 298% from a loss of 38 million shillings registered in 2021. WPP Chief Executive Officer Patricia Ithao says the firm recorded a 2.2 billion shillings gross profit and earnings per share growth of 450%.
With feed, we have had a 35% year-on-year growth on the revenues we've achieved on that. It is our number one product now. However, our PBT was positive, 376 million, a growth of 180%, driven by FX gains.
Dusha Mokami for Prime Edition.
My director tells me to tell you that it's a wrap for business, and Daniel Wahome is on standby to bring us the latest in sports.
nafasi yako ya kuwa mdosi wako. Jiunge na washindi tufanye biashara. Kuwa mshindi. Mozartbet.
It is Nuremberg at home against Stuttgart, and this is a repeat of the final almost 16 years ago.
VfB Stuttgart's 1-0 win over FC Nuremberg secured them a place in the last four for the first time since reaching the final in 2013.
And this is Enzo Milo to score! The substitute has done it! And he's done it in style!
On the other hand, Eintracht Frankfurt's 2-0 home win over Union Berlin kept the Europa League holders on track for what will be a 6th German Cup win and the first since 2018. Witness this interesting semi-final DFB Pokal match between VfB Stuttgart and Eintracht Frankfurt kicking off at 9:45 p.m. on Wednesday, 3rd of May. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Sports News is brought to you by Mozartbet.
Kurumisha ndege. Aviator instant game. Be a daring pilot and earn by how much high you can lift the plane. The higher you fly, the higher your win. The sky is the limit. Mozartbet.
Daniel Wahome, and welcome to Prime Edition Sport. We start with boxing, where Kenya's Hezron Maganga advanced to the round of 32 after seeing off French Polynesia's Titufa Henere in a cruiserweight on a unanimous decision at the ongoing World Boxing Championships in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Another Kenyan pugilist, Joseph Shigali, lost on split points to Ibrahim Omar of Gambia in the light welterweight division.
Maganga's victory in the round of 64 over French Polynesia's Tetofa Henere ended Kenya's 10-year drought in the World Boxing Championships. Maganga, the son of former Kenyan international heavyweight Fred Sabat, now moves to the round of 32. His opponent Tetofa Henere was the only representative from French Polynesia, a French overseas territory with a population of 279,900 people. Another Kenyan pugilist, Joseph Shigali, lost on split points to Ibrahim Omar of Gambia in light welterweight. Kenya's last winner in the global event is Rayton Okwiri at the 2013 World Championships in Almaty, Kazakhstan, where he outpointed Ekin Bolotbek of Kazakhstan to win his second welterweight fight and then lost to Fred Evans of Wales.
Now, 2009 champion Sofapaka garnered maximum points after registering a 3-2 victory over Vihiga Bullets in a midweek FKF Premier League match played at the Buhungu Stadium in Kakamega County. The FKF Premier League matches resume tomorrow with 5 matches on the cards.
Josephat Oyugi scored the opening goal for Vihiga Bullets in the 43rd minute before Sebastian Santi scored an equalizer for Sofapaka. Vihiga Bullets netted the second goal after restart before Sofapaka Rondi Manga and Ben Stanley scored goal in the 61st minute and 73rd minute to assure them 3-2 win.
They were strong on the wide areas. They were 1-against-1 situations, as I've said, with the ball. They were stronger. But I think for us, they created more spaces to utilize in their own half.
Hii ilikuwa game ya kushinda. So far, these are the game ile mimi kwa mnajotawai. Jukulingata na game vile tulianza kutangulia kufunga. Ile bao tulikuja ile equalizer ya pili ilikuwa very sad. Juko hiyo time ilikuwa imeshaisha. Na wachezaji walikuwa shapia concentration.
David Ouma side are now 12th on the log with 31 points, while Kazito Charges remain at the bottom of the log with 8 points. On Wednesday, 5 Football Kenya Federation Premier League matches will be on card. AFC Leopards will play Ulinzi Stars, Nzoia Sugars host Talanta FC, Police will be against Bidco United, Homeboys will tackle Wazito, while KCB face Bandari FC. King Rimwangi for Prime Edition Sports.
Now, Sport Principal Secretary Jonathan Mweke, accompanied by local leaders and sports officials, today toured and inspected the Kirigiti Stadium that is 85% complete. PS Mweke promised that the Ministry of Sports will ensure that the stadium will be complete in a period of between 2 to 3 months before it is handed over to the Kiambu County Government.
Sports Principal Secretary Jonathan Mweke assured that the Ministry of Sports has embarked on renovation and completion of style stadia in the country.
Hapa Kirigiti wananchi wanafurahia sana hii facility kwa sababu imejengwa kuwasaidia tuinue vipawa za vijana wetu huku, sportsmen and sportswomen waitumie waendeleze talanta zao.
Mweke said Kiringiti Stadium will have a capacity of 15,000 fans and has been constructed in line with international standards.
Tunajua vijana wetu wanaingia kwa hizi vitu ya pombe haramu juu hawana kitu ingine ya kufanya. Sasa tukikuwa na viwanja kama hizi, vijana wetu wanaweza kuja, wacheze, waburudike, wafanye mambo yao, wasahau na ile kitu ya pombe haramu na dawa za kulevya.
Meanwhile, plans are in place to establish a sports academy in Kiringiti so as to nurture upcoming talents in the region. Area MP Machua Waithaka urged the contractor to ensure the roads and sewerage system surrounding the stadium meet the required standards. For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
And that's the sport on Prime Edition tonight. Remember, 9:45 p.m. it's kickoff of the DFB Pokal. Some little details coming up after this little break.
Sports News was brought to you by Mozart Bet.
Nafasi yako ya kuwa mdosi wako. Jiunge na washindi tufanye biashara. Kuwa mshindi. Mozart Bet.
So there you are, and sport is done tonight, but we ain't done with sport because KBC Channel 1 is your true sports partner. The DFB Pokal semi-finals are being played today and tomorrow, and KBC Channel 1 is broadcasting the matches. Holders Rasenball Sport Leipzig, better known as RB Leipzig, are playing against Freiburg, and tomorrow VfB Stuttgart play against Eintracht Frankfurt. Tom.
By the way, the Homes. I'm the only one who's allowed to refer to Daniel Wahome as the Homes. The Homes. Some fond memories, isn't it? Football made in German, man.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's just taken me back to those days, you know?
And when you mention about football made in Germany,
yeah,
Bayern Munich were eliminated by Freiburg, and that match was broadcast here. So, Bayern Munich, thinking about the Bundesliga, they're out of the Champions League, they're out of the DFB Pokal, but Freiburg, can they continue with their giant-killing run? That's what we find out in 5 minutes from now.
And by the way, in 5 minutes from now, what's your crystal ball telling you? Who do you see is going to...
I don't carry crystal balls.
That's a good answer, my brother. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for being with us. Enjoy the DFB Pokal semi-final 1. My name is Daniel Wahome.
And I'm Tom Mboya. My crystal ball tells me it's time to go now because that match is coming up. Thank you so much for watching on behalf of the entire team, including Susan Thuku, who is smiling in the style of a mile per while. Good night, and God bless you.